everybody, my name's Erin McCall Cupp. I am filled with good, and so are you. And guess who else is filled with good? I have with me today Deanna Bartalini. Deanna is a spiritual director and the voice and heart and mind behind livenotlukewarm.com. She's got all sorts of wonderful spiritual resources available for you on your faith adventure, and you're going to see us both laugh about me calling it a faith adventure. I also am really honored to call Deanna a friend, and the way we sort of became friends is she answered my call for beta testers for the original draft of Filled with Good, Theology of the Body for Food Addicts, this spirituality course to help us use the principles of John Paul II's theology of the body, as well as principles from modern secular addiction science, to live in food freedom. She answered that call and has just, through the course of that course, we've just become friends. And so I'm so glad that she's available for me to interview her about her experience with Filled with Good. Hey, Deanna.
Erin, thank you so very much. And you're absolutely right. We have become friends. And that has been a huge, huge blessing in my life, personally and even professionally. You know, it's just been a huge blessing. So I greatly appreciate the fact that we have become friends.
Oh, I appreciate your sense of adventure in answering my call. Some strange writer person that you had just, interviewed once for your podcast. Maybe it's twice. I don't even remember. Anyway, long story short, that's on livenotlukewarm.com. Deanna's got a great podcast. Go listen to it. But in the meantime, so you had this sense of adventure, being willing to be on the beta testing team. What drew you to trying Filled with Good, Theology of the Body for Food Addicts?
What I was drawn to was my desire really to stop binge eating, because I knew that it wasn't serving me. It wasn't serving the purpose that I was using it for, because, well, addiction never does, right?
Right.
And I felt like I took so many things in my life very, very seriously, right? I trained to become a spiritual director. I study scripture. I have, worked on this great website. I do things that in the end help other people, right? But I very rarely do something that was for me. The point of Filled with Good is not so much to change the external, but to change the internal. There was a shift at some point, and I don't remember when, but I realized that I had to stop minimizing my problem, my addiction to food, because that's what I do. I minimize everything because I don't want to make anybody feel bad. And it was interesting to me too, with the theology of the body part of it, that I actually have taught theology of the body to middle schoolers and high schoolers, but I had never made that connection. Because when you teach to middle schoolers and high schoolers, it really is all about the sexuality and, using our bodies for good, which is important, not minimizing that. But never really had made the connection that I was teaching these young people their body was good and it should be used for the purpose which it was intended. So was mine. And I had missed that. And so this brought all of that together. And then I trusted you. I mean, I still trust you, but I knew you enough to trust you. I knew that you wouldn't be overbearing, that you would be honest. You talked enough before, while inviting us to the beta testers, about your own experience, that I knew this wasn't just somebody, who was just so proud of herself, had to tell the whole world because it's all about me. That's not who you are. And I knew that. And so I could trust you. And so that's really what drew me, all of those things combined.
Thank you. It was validating to hear that affirmation of, so far, everything Theology of the Body has been about the marital embrace. And there's so much more to that. So it's so cool to hear that you experienced that too through Filled with Good. So thank you for that. What was your experience like taking the course, like the actual nitty-gritty of the course?
It was very positive. It was extremely positive. What I have found is that food is so much less of a pull when bad things happen, when life becomes difficult. Because let's face it, for me, and I don't know anybody else's, what makes them do what they do. But for me, it's always, stress, difficulty, that sense of I've lost control. So let me just stop having these feelings, and I'll stop having these feelings. I'll just eat so I stop having the feelings. So that's not helpful. And of course, in all the years, and it was years, right? Years that I did this, I knew intellectually it wasn't helpful. And physically I could sense the harm I was doing, but it was easy, right? It was easy. And it's so easy to find like the fast food place to go into and just to run in and do this, and you can eat while you're doing something else, and it just all worked, right? In some convoluted way, which is the problem, right? It's all convoluted. But just the other day,
Like it felt like it worked.
right? Like, yes, it felt like it was working at the moment, but it doesn't work. It didn't work. What a couple of weeks ago, I had another somewhat stressful experience going on in my life. Not with me personally, but with other people that I'm somewhat responsible for. And in the past, what would have happened is that every time I left the house, I would have figured out a way to stop and get food. Not good food, not food that was going to be helpful, but food that would help me numb myself, basically. And what I realized is this past time that this happened, and it was just a few weeks ago, I realized when I kept thinking, when I would get hungry and I think, okay, I need some food because I did legitimately need to eat, right? Okay, what's going to help me for this situation in the best way, that I have energy, that I can focus, not numb me, because my feelings are my feelings. And, I learned that as a spiritual director, right? Our feelings are our feelings. They're not good. They're not bad. They exist. But for years, I kept thinking, I need to stop having these feelings. Well, the feelings during this stressful situation, they were all still there. But I also didn't feel sick to my stomach. And I also didn't have a headache. And I also wasn't exhausted because I just, had a sugar fix or whatever my choice would have been. And that's huge. That's absolutely huge.
So you experienced going through this stressful time this time, and instead of using food to try to make things better, you kept things from getting worse. Yep. Yeah. That's what self-care is. I think we think it's this luxury when really it's a necessity to take care of ourselves so that, we don't make things worse, because it's a fallen world. Things are already bad. Not that I'm saying they're bad all the time, but you know what I mean. So if you knew somebody who was on the fence about signing up for Filled with Good, what would you say to that person?
I would ask them, how many other things have you tried to change your appearance, the way you feel about yourself? How many other things have you tried, and have they worked? And if they haven't worked, why not try this? What you're going to do is you're going to learn one of the greatest teachings that have come out of our faith in the last years, I think, really, the theology of the body and how it applies to you as a person. And also that secular science, which I love this is something that I really love, because people are often told science, it's against our faith. No, because you know what? All of it comes from nature. And who gave us nature? God. So it combines those two things, and they just reinforce the fact that you can do this. What I did not expect was community. That, like, I knew you said we were going to have community. I knew that intellectually, but I didn't expect it to happen in such a positive way, and to really, when you get together and you talk to the other folks in the group, like, everyone has their own struggle, but really it's the focus on how are we going to keep moving forward, and how are we going to do what is best. Again, self-care in the best possible way, right? I think that's really important. But here's what I'm going to say, that the people that I met, every single person was more concerned with soul than with your size. And that was so, it was so affirming because, there are people in my life who know me and who love me, but they actually know me, like known me for 25 years. And I'll say to them, like, what do you think? How do I look? And like, you're beautiful because I love you and I know your soul. Right. But the people that I met in this group, they didn't know me in that same way. Never, that was always, it's the soul, your size, your soul. And that's what's going to help us heal, not being concerned with, do I look like this? And again, the world has these super high expectations.
And expectations that are constantly changing.
Right. And the way you're supposed to wind up, how you're supposed to look, that is always constantly changing. And it's all just, and it's confusing. And we all know where confusion comes from. And so this group of people that I met inside of this course were not confusing. We know who we are, we know who we belong to, and we know what we're trying to achieve. We're not perfect. We're not perfect. And I'm not going to sit here and say, I never think chocolate cake is the answer anymore. Sometimes I do, but I stop a minute and I think about it before I decide that chocolate cake really is the answer. And the other, there's so many things I could say. The fact that like food is not demonized. If people have a certain eating plan they follow the eating plan. If you want to have a cocktail, I don't know if I'm the only person in our group who enjoys having a cocktail or not, but I have a cocktail and I don't feel bad about it. I don't drink every day to excess. I don't drink every day at all, but I don't, it's putting food in its proper place. It's, what is the food meant for? It's meant for our good. And it's meant to serve us. So this way, in this case, we're not serving the food is serving us. This has been an extremely good way to build my faith.
And I'm something, such a struggle, has been such a struggle for so long. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Deanna. Thank you so much for your honesty and your good cheer and your sense of adventure. I'm sure that this interview is going to help people decide what's going to be right for them right now, because I liked what you said about how we're concerned about your soul, not about your size. That's what God is concerned about, and
that's right.
To Him, we're already filled with good. So, yeah. Let's live that way. All right, Deanna, thank you so much. And thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, blessed day.
You too.